Hi, John Miles here, and today I'm going to show the setup of the center and fixed lighting iris camera. And this is a version that's made for the Canon 100mm macro lens, and most all the illuminators can be adapted to that Canon macro lens. So the first step is you push these buttons in and lift the latch forward. And then the lid open, and inside there is the DSLR with macro lens and the illuminator. This is a 3-channel illuminator, placed for the spare general purpose zoom lens and the accessory compartment. So first you grab the camera. I like to use 3 fingers, and I put 2 in the front and the thumb behind the hot shoe, and then I'll lift it up gently while I hold the phone down with my other hand, and then holding it like this, I set it right down there. Then I also use my 2 fingers and thumb to lift out the illuminator just like that and set that down. Now I'll push this out of the way. And going to the camera, the first step is to remove the lens cap. Second, check the dial should be on M for manual mode, and with Canon cameras it's always going to be manual mode for iris photography. And then turn it on by switching that to the up position. And the next step is you push this flash pop-up button, and that may be somewhere else on other types of Canon. And also make sure that the lens is in manual focus and at minimum focus, 0.31 meters, which is about 12 inches. So the camera here is ready to take pictures, and my next step will be to attach the illuminator. And to do that, you attach the hood the normal way, but with this light guide here at the 9 o'clock position as you face it. And then once it's properly seated, you rotate this 90 degrees to the 12 o'clock position, and then this will be lined up with the flash. And just to demo this, I'll take a couple of shots of my own iris. When you're taking your own iris, you need to use autofocus, so I slide that over to A off. Then I turn on the focusing light with this dial here, which can control the brightness. And once I get a medium bright, I'll just go here and take a shot here, and there's the picture, and a perfectly good iris photo. Now, to further illustrate this, I will plug in this monitor here, and that way you can see all of the information shown on the back of the camera. So again, you can do the playback right away on the monitor, or you can actually make adjustments to the settings this way as well. So I'll show how that works. Notice these 2 little orange arrows, and the M means it's in manual mode. And when I just rotate this wheel, the command wheel, it'll change that shutter speed, and I'll choose, you can use anything from a 60th to 160th is fine, but I'll just use 100th. And then the other factor to check is the aperture, F number, and I recommend F14, 16, 18, and 20. The larger numbers are lets less light in and is good for the blue eye, and the smaller F numbers are for the brown iris. But to change that, you push this button at the upper right corner of this display here that says AV, that stands for aperture value. And while you hold it down, notice how the 2 orange arrows go there. And now when I rotate this wheel, that will change. And I'll just dial in F16, which is about right for a blue iris. And the other setting that affects the exposure is the ISO. And to change that, you just press and let go of this ISO button, and you get this screen, and you can run the thumb or the finger wheel until you have the correct sensitivity setting. Now the larger numbers will be a brighter image, and the smaller numbers will be darker. So I choose 800. I usually use either 400, 800, or 1600. And once you have that, you press the set button to save your choice. And then there is one other setting, which is this +2 exposure compensation. That will brighten the image. That is detailed in the user guide. And so again, I can just demo this real briefly. Here's the focusing light. I get that about medium. And just take a picture. There you have it. Nice, perfectly good photo. And then you can do the second eye. And you have another perfectly good photo. Now the next thing I'll show is how it can be used with a chin rest, which I happen to have one here. And this is the compact portable chin rest that's adapted for the Canon camera, which needs a 12-inch working distance. But to mount this, you will, if you get them separately, this quick release plate needs to be attached to the bottom of the Canon camera. And with Canon, it's a pretty tight fit between that and the little door that opens to get the memory card out and the battery. So you want to have this as far to the left as possible when you go to tighten this up. And then once that's properly mounted, the way it gets applied to the chin rest is you tilt it down and engage the front, and then you tilt it back up. And at that point, it's very important to squeeze this shut, because you need to add that extra tension to tighten that attachment. And this little brass lever is a lock, so if you have it over pointing that way, you won't be able to remove the camera. And when you have it pointing towards straight back to the rear, you will be able to remove the camera by rolling that to the middle position. So now that this is all set up, then you can adjust the chin rest to match the client's eye height by just loosening this knob and setting it to the right height. And then this is how you focus. So if you're not doing self-photography, you'd want this on manual mode. If you are taking your own picture, like I'll do right now, I have to use auto. But this is just to show how simple it is to use. So I'll just go here, and then you line it up and move it back a little bit there. And then I'll move my lid down a bit here. You wait until you get a nice sharp picture that's focused there, and then I'll go over to the other eye for the second eye. Now the blinking flash is where it's gauging how much light to use, and when you're taking pictures of another person's eye, you can get this perfectly centered. You want it perfectly centered. But that's basically it. And then when you're done with the photography, you turn the focusing light off, and so you don't really need even a computer, although it's better to use a computer. But when you're in this mode, then you can play back the pictures by pressing this blue playback button here. And then once you're in playback mode, you can move through these like so. And you can make it different illustrations. There's the full frame. And this is stepping through these various photos like that. And that is the camera. Now, one other thing is, if you have a PC, a Windows computer, you can use Digicam Control. And rather than using this HDMI to an ordinary monitor, you can use the USB and plug it into your computer. And then you have a little bit more flexibility about reviewing the pictures. And that's really the best way. But if you don't have the computer handy, you can definitely use the HDMI cord to play back pictures. And that's it. You can find more information at my website at milesresearch.com. Thank you for watching.